In today's video, we unbox two starter sets from the award-winning Star Wars Miniatures Battles game. Hey everybody, this is Lee from skirmishwargames.com, and as promised, today we're going to unbox a box starter set from Star Wars Miniatures Battles from West End Games. This goes all the way back to 1995, so 22 years in the shrink, and we're going to unveil it today. Let's go ahead and open it up and see what's in here. So some people might say it's sacrilege to open up a shrink wrap box like this. And frankly, I don't know. If it was super valuable, maybe I'd agree with them. But what are they going to do? Bury me with it? It's not like I'm going to be able to pay for my retirement with it or anything like that. So you might as well open it up and enjoy it. Plus I get to share the findings with you fine folks. Okay, now that we've broken the cryogenic seal, let's go ahead and see what's actually in the box. So a couple of blister packs of minis, some generic blue dice, rulebook, and that's pretty much what they said on the back of the box you were going to get. So includes the Star Wars Miniatures Battles rulebook with complete rules for squad level battles between the forces of the Empire and the Rebel Alliance. 12 lead-free metal miniatures from the acclaimed line of Star Wars figures, equivalent to 4 miniature blister packs, and 5 six-sided dice. So this came out in '95. So West End Games, as I understand it, had the Star Wars license from the late '80s to the late '90s. So this was somewhere in the middle of their reign as the Star Wars license holder. Let's take a closer look here. So this is the Star Wars Miniatures Battles core book, which we've talked about before. And this version came out in 1993, so this is probably the second version, which was meant to kind of coincide more closely with the second version of the RPG. Yeah. And, you know, it's a good book. I mean, it's a little bit dated, but fairly comprehensive for its time in terms of, you know, squads, movement, terrain, special weapons. And I don't know if we talked about it as much last time, but there's also a pretty big section on heroes and Force users. So you can incorporate Jedi Knights and Sith Lords and all of that into your games. And they can have powers like lightsaber combat, lie detection, control pain, telepathy. Oh, here's a good one, telekinesis, where you use your power to hurl objects at opponents. So, yeah, all of the things from Empire Strikes Back that you might want to incorporate into a game of Star Wars Miniatures Battles, that's in here. There's also rules for mounts and beasts, droids. It's nice they included even some information on creating your own scenery. So, yeah. And then here's a little section in here from back in the day if you wanted to order different miniatures to go with your starter set. And as you can see, they had quite a long list of add-ons. You know, everything from Rebel Troopers to Imperial Troopers to bounty hunters, vehicles, and we're going to get to this in a minute when we look at the vehicle starter pack. Denizens of Tatooine, Sand Troopers, Aliens of the Galaxy. So quite a lot out there. And some of that's still available on eBay if you look around for it. And then, of course, templates and things like that. Okay, generic dice. So here are the blister packs of the miniatures that you get with the starter set. And I'm just going to go ahead and open these up. Let's just take a look at what we got here. So these little guys must be made out of pewter. Some of the other West End Games Star Wars miniatures I have are made out of lead, and so there's a lot of warnings associated with that. You're still not supposed to put these in your mouth and chew on them for some reason. Rules. Okay, Stormtrooper. Is that Bosk? Is that a bounty hunter? Some dude with a bent staff. They got medication for that these days. Is that Dengar? Okay, so enough to get started with anyway. You could do a little squad level scenario. So it looks like your scenario is going to be Luke, Leia, and a couple of Rebel Troopers versus a couple of bounty hunters and Darth Vader, and then I don't know who this is. So I'm not sure if that's a good guy or a bad guy. I guess you can decide. So there you go. Nothing fancy, enough to get your feet wet. Of course, they need to be painted up and based and all that stuff. And as you can probably see, back in the days of the old metal minis, a lot of flash and things like that needs to be cleaned up. And I had read online that one of the things West End Games had decided when they put the game together was that they wanted to incorporate a lot of the actual Star Wars characters rather than just a bunch of generics. So you can, I don't know how often Darth Vader is going to pop up in somebody's RPG, but certainly in the Miniatures Battles game, you can have him on the table. Okay, so that is the Star Wars Miniatures Battles core set, pretty much as advertised. So now let's take a look at the companion set that came with this. This is the Star Wars Miniatures Battles Vehicle Starter Set. This is not in the shrink wrap, but it hasn't been opened in terms of blister packs. So what you get here is you get a couple of packs of vehicles, some more generic dice. These are white this time, obviously. And then the Star Wars Miniatures Battles Companion, which include, oh, and here's something kind of neat. This is the order sheet for all the different miniatures that they offered. Yeah, just for reference, back in the day, all figure packs are $6.75 and all vehicle packs are $9.95, except for 405.06, which is $15. So, all right. So this is the Miniatures Battle Companions. Includes rules for flyers and vehicles. So if you want to include, they got snow speeders in there, and some rules additions. Throwing grenades blindly, never a good idea. And then a lot of sort of background info on the different factions. So if you want to include snow speeders, land speeders, these speeder bikes in the game, this is the rule book you needed to get. So let's take a closer look at, I'm not going to break these open because I'm not going to do anything with them right away, but you can kind of see, I'll give you a closer look. There is a metal snow speeder. And this is a heavy, you could use this for home defense, just chuck it at somebody. It's pretty hefty. And then it looks like here you have a couple of speeder bikes, one with an Imperial Trooper on them and one with a Rebel Trooper. Okay, so there you go. Not overly fancy, but it does come as advertised. Basically, a miniature speeder bike with a Rebel pilot, a miniature speeder bike with an Imperial Biker Scout, and the Rebel Snow Speeder used at the Battle of Hoth. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this trip back in time with us as we took a look at the Star Wars Miniatures Battles Starter Set and the Star Wars Miniatures Battles Vehicle Starter Set. This gives you kind of an idea of what miniature battle games looked like back in the mid-1990s. And this was actually a pretty sophisticated idea back then to include the rule books and the miniatures and some dice all in the same set so that someone could get it as a gift or pull it off the shelf of the hobby store and have enough to get started. You got some good guys, you got some bad guys. Got to come up with your own ruler, got to photocopy your own templates out of the back of the book, but that's okay. It's enough to get started and to see if you like the system enough to start buying miniatures off that long list that they include in the box. So hopefully, here shortly, we're going to put these rules to the test and actually play some scenarios using some old metal minis and also using some miniatures from Wizards of the Coast, which are a little bit taller, but the base size is the same. So we don't see any reason why we can't use those. So we're going to test out some of the basic rules. We'll use some vehicles. We'll use some force powers, some heroes, and you can kind of take a look at what Star Wars miniatures battles looked like, back in the mid-1990s. So stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy our content, please subscribe to our YouTube channel or visit us online at skirmishwargames.com.